You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. Alrighty, tonight, Brodie Hewitt, you're joining us, mate. We've been chatting a fair bit. I do like your Instagram, and we will have the link in the show notes. So if you are on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, go in the show notes, click on your name or Brodie's name, I should say, and it will take you straight to his Instagram to check it out. Mate, mainly a pig hunter. You do a bit of competition shooting, also a bit of dogs. Mate, you're very interesting. I'm having issues at the moment with a fox. I know I've said this before. We just got new chickens, and second night, three gone. Cagey buggers, man. This one's smart. And I know people like it when I have these issues. People seem to laugh and like it. So I'm happy to share. We got the chickens, and I think it was second night. I basically got this big extra large dog cage. I think it was off Amazon. I'd put a mesh, pot riveted this mesh background with an automatic solar door. And I'm like, this is great. Screwed in, the camping pegs that screw into the grounds. Yep. Hooked a ratchet strap over it so it wouldn't lift up, and it was nice and tight. And I figured that would be enough. Now, this fox attempted to get in 3 times by digging in from different angles, but he couldn't get under enough to get any leverage because of the ratchet strap to get a chicken. The sneaky little bugger then went over and chewed the ratchet strap in half.
Yeah, right.
So he could then get in and get that leverage to get it up, and he took 3 of our chooks.
Oh.
So I've got the trap out there. I've got him on trail camera because I set that up too. First night he didn't go too much for the cage. Second night, my neighbour's cat has been getting into the cage, so there was a lot of footage of the cat sitting there and the fox just going around the cage.
Yeah, nice.
Which is a pain because I want the fox. So now I'm a little concerned that he knows it's a trap because the cat was stuck in there.
Yeah.
Because he's sneaky. But from what I hear, dogs are way trickier than foxes. You do a fair bit with them, mate. How do you find them?
Yeah, it all depends on what sort of country you're trapping them in, I suppose, and if anybody's educated them in the past. If you get someone who's not trying to take the piss as such out of anyone, everybody's got to learn eventually, and some people have to teach themselves. But if you get someone in there that doesn't have a whole lot of knowledge on trapping, and they educate the dogs as such, don't do it properly, the dogs find their traps and that sort of stuff, or set them off and don't get caught, well, you get a knowledgeable dog that understands that, hang on, this scent on the ground in this area could mean there's a trap here, and you'll start getting traps dug out. But that just then comes down to when you go there and do it, make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, you're doing everything properly, crossing your T's, dotting your I's. And some country you'll get real consistent dogs. There's a couple places I trap where they'll actually pad like cattle do, just using the same spot back and forth. And that makes for pretty simple dog trapping realistically. But then you'll get other places like a block that I'm doing at the moment where there's some real thick scrub on the edge of open buffalo country, and they're not padding as such. They're really, these dogs anyway, are working a lot of country, a lot of gullies, moving around consistently. And we've actually had some consistent rainfall over the last few weeks. Not lots, but just bits and pieces here and there, which also will change dog movement, I've found. Obviously, your game species will be moving around with the rain, so then the dogs will follow them and do different things. But as a comparison to foxes, I couldn't really have a say in that because I've only ever shot foxes and we don't get heaps of them up this way. But they are definitely cunning, and I suppose it's like anything. You got your difficulties with any form of game or feral species that you're chasing.
Well, mate, I'm with you. I wish I had a bit more property that I was allowed to shoot on, because I'd much rather shoot this little bugger than try and trap him. It always burns me a little that obviously I'm semi-rural, so and not big enough to shoot on. I've got the thermal, I've got the night vision scope, I've got that everything sitting there and just cannot do anything with it.
You got
and
him
just
sitting there right in front of you, but yeah, you got your cake, but you can't eat it.
Yep. I know it does me head in. So I'm trying the trapping, but let's wait and see. He seems pretty switched on, so I'm not holding my breath that I'm going to catch him. And but look, you never know. But mate, when it comes to the dogs, because I've spoke to a couple of people before and had a lot of interactions on the last Samba trip. They were quite everywhere, and I'll put some footage up on Instagram, and you can hear them in the background howling, and I think I grabbed that. Actually, it could be for the YouTube video, but they were coming into the flex mark, and my mate Nick had a very close encounter. What are your processes? Because I know everyone's different. I know some people like to try and shoot them, howl them in and shoot them. Other people like to trap them. The scent thing is a big one for the dogs because they seem to pick it up, which is quite an interesting one because I'm sure I read somewhere that scent in direct sunlight only lasts for about 4 hours. Yeah, right. But talking to people that trap dogs, they seem to think that it's a lot longer that the dogs can pick up on it.
Yeah, I'd fully believe that. Look, I'll start off by saying I suppose I wouldn't call myself a professional. I had one mate teach me a few tips and tricks sort of thing a few years ago, and probably more than a few years ago now, but other than that, I'm basically self-taught just from spending time in the paddock and learning my ways of things. But yeah, I go everything from going out at night to howl them in, sitting on dams through the days, and also trapping, basically all lengths needed to get those problem dogs. And trapping's probably, in a way, the most effective. It can be very time-consuming. Just in the fact of getting your traps out, doing everything properly, and then also finding the time to continuously check your traps. I'm not a fan of setting traps and then leaving animals to die in them. I like to run my traps daily, make sure everything, yes, they're a feral species. No, sorry, not a feral species. They're a feral pest, even though some say they are native to Australia, but that's a whole other argument. But they still deserve respect as such and don't deserve to just lay there in the heat and die. But I've got myself just a thermal monocular, and I howl. This year I've howled quite a few dogs in. I've been to a couple places, haven't had my traps with me, so just go out at night and howl them in and whatnot. And then, of course, the other way that a lot of people do deal with their wild dog problems is 1080 baiting, which I'm far from a fan of. I know it can be effective, but I feel it's extremely cruel, and it's not a one-target sort of solution, if that makes sense. It can affect more than just the dogs.
Mate, it's really interesting, that 1080 thing, eh? There's so many people that back it that, I've read research papers where they say that there's not enough to harm any other species. And then I've spoken to a lot of, people in positions where it's used regularly, and they, from their own practice, totally disagree. Yeah. With the research, that natives are, what's the word for it? That immune to it. They're a bit more resistant, but I'm very skeptical, especially when you come more to the east coast of it. But I liked what you said there about checking the traps and not leaving them to die and rot. I'm with you. I think hunters, trappers, no one wants to see these animals just suffer, and that's a big one for me. And I think that's why I'm against the 1080 so much. If it was a poison where they just laid down and went to sleep, I would be probably not against it, and I'd probably be, advocating for it, saying, hey, this is humane. Yeah. It's effective, it's humane, if it was. Obviously, we're talking hypotheticals here. But with 1080, it's not. It's a suffering, and it's not quick, and it's, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. And I know there'll be people out there complaining about us hunters that, you don't always have the perfect shot or the like, but agreed, but we all aim for it, and we all try our best to make sure it's quick and ethical.
Yeah, for sure.
And minimize any suffering. And I think that's a big difference where people don't understand that a little bit. It's more non-hunters, I should be saying.
Yeah.
But interesting with the howling. Is there a sort of technique? I love talking to people and hearing species of deer that I haven't chased, and how they go about sort of calling them in or going back and forth and a bit of strategy.
Yep.
Is there the same with the howling? Like, is it, different times you might do different calls to bring them in?
To a degree. Again, I wouldn't claim to be professional at this. This is just my self-taught notes and whatnot, but I've spent many a nights in the paddock. Even through the day, I'll be out just working, and I'll just practice howling while I'm going about doing my things through the day and just be like, I didn't quite hit that note right. I don't feel like that was good. And then you go out at night while I'm targeting dogs and really take note of what howls are getting responses, what's bringing dogs in at the time. It's something that I'm looking at sitting down, like sort of take a notebook book with me in coming trips and start really paying attention to times of the year, what's happening, seasons, what calls they respond to. Not that I can do a big variation of calls, but there's just little different yips and long howls and bits and pieces that you get different replies to at different times. And sometimes it's effective. Some nights I'll have dogs all around me going off and coming in. And other nights I know there's dogs in the area, but I just can't get boo out of them, no interest at all. And whether that's me being off for the night with my howls, or whether that's just a night where the dogs aren't active and they're just not going to do anything or a certain time of the year. So it's sort of hard to explain without taking someone out and I suppose running them through my processes and exactly what happens. But I guess that's a brief rundown of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, look, one of the things I've learnt from this podcast is even, I know you keep saying, I'm not an expert by any means, and I obviously appreciate that and the honesty, but I think that one of the best things for me from this podcast has been the fact of getting to speak to people from all walks of life with all different experiences. And I have heard some things that are very different from what the experts put out there, and they've had those conversations and seen it work that is the opposite of what they've said. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong by no stretch of the imagination. They've spent a lot of time and effort and good on them, and they've got good info. Yeah. But I've also seen information that totally contradicts what 100%. They are saying. So I always like the fact of hearing people's experiences, because you might just pick up something that, as you just said, I can have a great night and they'll all be coming in. Try something else. Now, you could have learnt from the best and do their process and it won't work. And definitely. Something weird will work. You just don't know, right? So I always love hearing people's own sort of perspectives and opinions and what they've found, because it might be something a little different to what I've been told or heard or learnt or researched, and then I can add it to the repertoire and see if it works for me. And it might not, but either way, it's good to have that conversation and hear a different sort of side and perspective as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose you could just look at the human race in general as this is a big picture sort of thing, but every town you visit, every area you go to, people are different, interact differently. So you then apply that to animals and you've got the same species, but in a different area, hundreds of kilometres apart. There's nearly a 99% chance that those animals are going to interact and behave slightly differently to the ones that you've hunted 300 kilometres down the road.
Oh, I agree. It's a very nuanced thing, isn't it? Like, I think there's a great analogy talking about people, because we are all so very, very different. And I think that's a great thing, because, I do think variety is the spice of life, and hunting's the same. And I thoroughly enjoy. So people keep sort of asking me, what's your favourite thing to hunt? Or are you, now that you're into, like, have had a successful sambar hunt, is that what you're going to chase full time? And I like it all. They're all very different. They have their unique challenges. The species are different and have their little subtle things about them. Yep. I thoroughly enjoy all of it. And even fox hunting, like whistling in foxes. Haven't had the chance to go for dogs. Yep. It's something I definitely am interested in. All of it, because I think it's something to learn and keep developing your own skills and learn more about. And that is just what fascinates and drives me, just learning new things all the time. Yeah. So hearing people talk about their different way, and I had Tim Booth on a while back, and he's a professional trapper. Yep. And I've actually got to reach out to him. I'll do that because he had another trapper and he said, I'll speak to him. He does things a little like, I think he said fair bit differently, this other trapper, but he has just as much success as Tim. And I was like, that's really interesting that you've got two guys that sort of work together quite well, closely and do jobs together, but do things differently.
Yeah.
And they both obviously are having success. So there's the perfect example of finding more out.
Yeah. Well, I've, with all the country that I do my trapping on and whatnot, I've obviously learnt the ways of my dogs in those areas and what works and what doesn't. But if I then come across a problem dog where he's just beating me, I just can't seem to win, I'll go to other people that I know that are trappers and just take their little notes and bits and pieces and put the puzzle together sort of thing. And quite often that'll end up bringing that dog on undone. Like I'll end up getting him. So yeah, as you said, like it's just everyone's got their own little way of doing things. And this podcast, as you were saying, is fantastic for that. You can just pick your little bits and pieces from each person and take what you want and do as you will with it. But it's a great opportunity for just being open-minded, I suppose, and being open to the fact that, yes, it's written in the textbook like this, but that's quite possibly not how it's going to work all the time.
Yeah, and I think even if it's not right, or if it just makes you think about it or question something that you've done previously or reflect on a failed hunt or something that wasn't as successful as you think it could be, that opportunity of reflection and unpacking it is always a win because you might learn something about it. You might not, but you're at least thinking about how do I get better? And it's that, we all want to be good at what we do. So hunting's a great thing for that because I feel we're up against it. Like, it's really funny talking to people that don't hunt. They think that hunting is so easy. And I've had so many mates over the years, like I'll go hunting for deer and if I come back without anything, they're like, are you serious? How did you not get anything? And it's like, well, you obviously have never done this, mate. These things and I sort of throw it back on them now and go, okay, how far can they see? What can they smell? And can they scent me? How far out? And they got no idea. And I was like, okay, it's interesting when people just jump to conclusions on limited information and facts. And I look, that's human nature. So I don't hold it against them, but trying to educate them that we are at the disadvantage. We're noisy through the bush.
Oh, yeah.
We stand out like crazy. Our senses are nowhere near as good as what they have.
No.
And I appreciate you've got a rifle and that you can potentially shoot something, 200, 300, 400 meters, depending how good you are. But you still got to spot them, find them, do the whole process. Depending on the country you're hunting, it has to be open to shoot 400 meters. You're not shooting through thick bush in that.
Yeah.
And just all those things are just really interesting things to think about. And then when you hear people's journeys or how they learnt or what they picked up and a little tip or trick here, I just keep adding and adding. And I've found over the years doing this is I will question or think about things and go back to what someone said whilst I'm hunting or whilst I'm doing something. And the outcome tends to look a little bit better on my part for that, just for that. So I'm very lucky in that sense. And I say that all the time. I'm very lucky to have the opportunity to talk to people. And interestingly enough, I'm glad you reached out because when I put the call out for guests, it's been something I've been toying with for a while because, there's a lot of podcasts out there now, which is great. Trying to have different guests and not regurgitate the same content is pretty big for me.
Yeah,
and it's difficult. I don't listen to any of the other podcasts because I don't want to, what's the word for it? I don't want to sort of change my style or questioning or go, they've already talked about that, so I don't want to talk about this. So I try from more a creative standpoint, just not hear anything so I can do my own thing. And I had a lot of people reaching out, and when I put that call out, that didn't want to come on the podcast, but they're super rapt that I'm doing it because they want to hear from people that they love the stories. They love hearing from not an unknown, I wouldn't say that because most people are on socials and people might have seen them, et cetera, but they might not have been on a podcast before. Something different, that different conversation and that different topic and that wherever it goes. And I don't script anything. As you're aware tonight, we've just sort of, let's go. Let's see where it runs. Yep. And that's For me, that's one of the, it's a genuine conversation. Who knows where it will go, but I'm not having those preconceived ideas of where I want to take it or what we're going to talk about. And then I always find because of that, there's just some gold that people come up with, and they'll just give me something that I'll sit there and go, that, you know, that one little snippet will be well worth the time I've spent talking. And I always find there's always something. I don't think I've done a podcast where I haven't taken something from that. And shout out to all the people that messaged and have said they love that part, like they love that about the podcast, is that it's not just the same names getting brought up and the same conversations. So I appreciate the support for that for sure. But mate, let's jump into, because you're not just chasing dogs and that, you do a lot with the pigs. But I know you when we started talking, you had, was it state titles? And you got crook. So it is something that's on my list, especially as the kids probably get a little bit older, that I want to get into more of that competition shooting side. Yep. So I want to hear about what you're doing with that, and then we'll talk about some pigs afterwards.
Yep. So I've actually just come back from what is essentially a 5-year break in it. But up until then, so I'm 27 now, and I'd started competing when I was 11. I went and got my junior firearms license and just got straight into clay target shooting. I shoot the trap discipline and the odd little bit of skeet here and there, or sporting if I get the chance, but predominantly trap. And for a good, what would that mean? 15 years, I suppose. I was just solid. Most weekends I was trying to get away to a competition with my old man, and competing fairly heavily in the Queensland region anyway. And then, I just got a little spark lit again this year, I suppose, and got the itch for it. And I thought, oh, bugger it, state titles are being held in my hometown, so what have I got to lose? I'll get the gun out and jump straight back into the state titles. And I was feeling pretty good, but unfortunately the Friday afternoon before they kicked off, I got a bit of a scratch in my throat, and I went, it won't be anything, I'll be fine. And come Saturday, I was feeling a bit worse, and Sunday it didn't get better. And by Monday I couldn't get myself out of bed, so I didn't get to complete the whole event. But still, it was good to get back out there and catch up with everyone. Like, there's some unreal people that compete in the shooting world. Just some really genuine, down-to-earth people. So, I actually competed a shoot just the weekend just gone again. The bug's bitten and I'm back into it. So it'll be good to get back out into it now and, catch up with everyone. I used to be I'm very competitive by nature, but I think I'll get back into it more so now, as getting to catch up with people and just get back out there and, get a couple wins here and there would be great, but no, it'll be good just to get back behind the gun again and have a bit of fun.
All right, so for listeners that might not be on that side of it, because a lot of people, obviously hunters that listen, trap, skeet, can you explain the differences in the disciplines?
Yes. So, the easiest way for anyone that is interested in looking into it is, I'll cheat here, and you can jump on Google, and if you just search up clay target shooting and write in trap or skeet or sporting, and it'll give you a full rundown and pretty much a diagram of what each event is. But we'll start with trap. So the main discipline that I shoot, essentially there's one clay target thrower in the trap house, which the standard mark is 15 metres. So there's 5 lanes, 15 metres back from the trap house, and you just, you stand on your 15-metre mark, call pull, and your target will come out within, I can't remember the exact angles anymore. I've been out of it for a bit, as I was saying, and it could have changed. So if I said numbers, I'd probably be lying. But it's constantly oscillating back and forth, so you don't know where that target's going to come out. And then you've got your handicaps, which roll right back to 25 metres for your better shooters. You win a handicap event, you gain a metre. The better you are, the further back you obviously end up. Skeet is basically a tower over this side and a tower over this side. You'll have one target come out of the high house, one target come out of the low house, and there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pretty sure it's 8 different positions positions that you shoot at in skeet, and that can be anything from a target coming straight out beside you and a target coming to you, to you've got the targets basically crossing over in front of you. And sporting, I've only shot a very small amount of it, but that's got to be the most fun because they'll have traps set up anywhere randomly. They'll have targets running across the ground, going straight up in the air, coming at you from way out in the distance or coming from behind you. There's a very big variation of those targets. Much more like, I suppose, shooting live targets in the field it would be for duck hunters and that well, where you can shoot ducks anyway, not allowed to do that up here. But I don't know how good of a description that was, but if you are interested, just jump on Google, type in clay target shooting and trap, skeet or sporting. Trench is another one, and it'll give you a good basic rundown on how it all works anyway.
No, mate, you did a good job there. It's very difficult, and I threw you on the spot because it's so hard in an audio medium for people to describe things without being able to visually see the representation. Yeah. It's difficult, and it's one of the ones. I think it comes a little bit easier to me now because I'm used to it. But when you're not thinking about it and how people go about just that description side, like it's just common nature. And I always say it, people, and I do it too sometimes still. I'm sitting here and I'll be going, put my hands up and going this side and whatnot. And it's just a natural thing to do because you're used to having a conversation where, there's not a couple of thousand people listening to you. So I get where I get that, and good job for being on the spot. But no, look, I haven't done it as a competition thing. I've gone down. We're pretty lucky because we got the Olympic site here at Cecil Hills.
Yep.
In Sydney, and I've had quite a few goes there. Absolutely love it, but it's just more a bit of fun rather than anything else. And I get the interest in being able to do it, and then that competition side of it too, because I'm a very competitive person myself. So. But then I also like the idea that you're sort of competing against yourself as well. Like, yes, you're against others, but you're competing against you and your sort of accuracy and how many you're nailing and the like. But yeah, I think that's the beauty about our discipline in shooting, whether you're hunting, whether you're going out for targets, all that. The only one I think I'm not a massive fan of is the bench rest stuff.
Yep.
I just don't. I like the idea, like PRS sounds really cool, moving about, changing position. Bench rest for me, I'm just like, I get bored at the range when I go and it's sort of just the one spot and you've got to have a back support and it's just like, I can do it and I like it, but I like it for about an hour. I don't know if I could this was my thing. And hey, credit to the blokes that do it. Far more patience than me and far more accurate too. They're some of them, I can't believe how good they are.
Oh, there's some unreal shooting done.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just sit there and just go, holy crap. And look, that I think that's where the other side that I'm probably overlooking because I don't do it is that reloading, fine tuning, that projectile and the powder and the burn rate and all the things that come with it from that side. And then that's why you can shoot so well. So it's more this big holistic process, and the actual sitting at the bench shooting is a very small element to it. So it's a lot more. So I hope I haven't offended you if you're a bench rest shooter. I think you're pretty bloody good, that's for sure, but probably not my cup of tea personally. But yes, no, mate. So what shotgun are you shooting?
Currently I'm back on an old gun that my dad and I have both used many years ago, but it's a Beretta 686 X-Trap. Yeah, I've basically owned Berettas from day one. But yeah, this is a fairly old gun now, but we've got the stock's fully custom done up. We just got a big block of timber, took it to our stock maker, and well, I shouldn't say we did, my dad did, because it was his gun originally, and got the full curve and everything we needed put in it. It's even got a recoil reducer in it, which is unreal for big events. And it just so happens that my shoulder's as messed up as my old man, so it fits me perfectly as well. But it is also fully adjustable, so you can make it fit almost anyone. But yeah, it's been a great old gun, and the Beretta lifetime servicing, you just get years and years out of Beretta, which is handy because they generally turn up to the big shoots. They come to the state titles and the nationals and all those events. So you just take your shotgun into them, and they do a free service on it at that event, and you come away with freshly serviced gun, and away you go again. But yeah, I've used a few of the higher model Berettas like the DT11 X-Trap and the DT11 Black. I was shooting one of them for quite a long time, and it was I loved that gun. I shot extremely well with it, and it was just I don't know, there was just something about it, but it was a really good gun, very high price to it, and a lot of people hummed and hawed as to whether it was worth it, but I shot a lot of targets with that and won quite a few competitions, so I could back that 100%. And but going back to my old gun now, and with the amount of shooting I'm doing, there's no reason to own such a high-priced shotgun, I suppose. It's just more in it for the good times now, so I'm happy to take the old gun out. I know it works. It's won me plenty of things, so yeah.
Do you have a preference of chokes? Because I find I'm still getting my head around how the spread works. I know how it works, but which one actually suits my gun and for further out, because when you're shooting trap or whatever, depending how far the target is, and obviously as it moves, your pattern. And for listeners, I'm sorry, let me take you a step back here and try and explain this the best I can. With your shotgun, when all the BBs come out or whatever you're shooting, but those little balls that are coming out, they will shoot down the barrel and the choke will put them into a pattern. So the pattern will then spray out or will spread it in a certain manner, and you can change those chokes so that you can have it more condensed, wider, whatever it might be, to suit your style of what you're shooting. So depending how far you are shooting, your choke will spread at different levels. You've got to sort of find that out. Now, it's something I have struggled to do myself, in the sense that I haven't really done it at the range. I probably would want a property where I could set them up at different 10, 20, 15, all that sort of stuff, shoot them, work out what my patterns are to work out what distance I'm shooting at. So then you know your distance for trap too. I did pretty good, but I also think that I could do a lot better if I honed in on that side of it. Do you find there's a consistent sort of choke you go with, or depending on the gun they mix around, or what, specialty or discipline you're going for?
Yeah, so the different choke for each thing you shoot, basically. In the gun that I was using before I had my break, the DT11 Black, it was what they call fixed chokes, so you couldn't change them. It was just, that was how it was built. And it was basically full and full, like it was throwing... The DT11 Blacks are known for throwing a very, very tight pattern, which essentially just means that you have to be on your game and on that target. There's not a lot of room for error. But this old gun that I have gone back to, it's choked. So I call them open, half, three-quarter, and full, which I think goes to cylinder. Like, this is just the comparisons of the two. Open would be cylinder. Half, I believe, is modified. Three-quarter is improved modified, and full is just full. I could be wrong with the two in the middle, but I know the others are right. But I refer to them as full, three-quarter, half, and open. In trap, quite often I'll use full and three-quarter, or full and full for competition. Especially for practice, I'll keep my chokes as tight as possible. To really make sure that I'm staying on that gun, I'm doing everything properly, and I'm hitting those targets. For double rise, where you get two targets come out at the same time in trap, I'll go back to three-quarter and half. The targets aren't going quite as fast or as far, so that open pattern, and you're going from one target to the other in the one motion, basically. It's not one motion, but you swing to the first one, come across to the second. So it just allows for that little bit of error. Not that you should be allowing for that, but if you do make that mistake, it might just save you on the target. And then you go to skeet. Well, a lot of people just run open chokes in skeet. Big wide pattern. Targets aren't very far out, so you want that pattern to open up as quickly as possible as such. And a big factor that a lot of people don't realise is the ammunition you were using everything will throw a completely different pattern through. Like if you just put a full choke in your gun and shoot 5 different types of ammo out of that, every type that you shoot will shoot a different pattern.
I love this stuff. It's so cool, isn't it? Like I'm just sitting here thinking about it going, now I've got to get back and shoot because I haven't shot the shotgun for ages. But you're right. And I didn't touch on that, is that some rifles, or shotguns I should say, don't have interchangeable chokes so that they're fixed, as you said. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty here of it's like a little bit of science with all these things too, and then being able to do that. And I think you're a better shooter if you understand your bullet drop, your spread in the shotgun. So all those things is, as you just said, getting comfortable behind the gun. Great takeaway tip there is practice tight, and then you can allow a little bit because for different circumstances. I always talk about that too, like in the sense that I know my bullet drop for most of my rifles. So when I go out to hunting, I know where I'm aiming. If you can dial in really tight groups, and even if it's at the bench, then transfer it across. If you're so used to shooting that smaller target, when it's a bigger target, you've got that much more room for error that you shouldn't be making major errors, so you're going to be on target properly. So I know a lot of people talk out there going, oh, you just got to hit a dinner plate. And I dislike that sort of advice, and I'm not trying to tread on toes. But my advice is, mate, if you can try and dial in and hit a bloody, a 50-cent coin or, an apple, that is far better, because in the field, in an awkward position, that's going to help you tremendously trying to hit that dinner plate.
As the old saying goes, I suppose, aim small, miss small.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And I swear by that saying too. I like that one major. Now, it's an interesting one because I like talking to people and hearing different perspectives on magnification. So I know you don't have it on the shotguns. I like to really, especially at the range, I dial my magnification right up. Yep. But then when I'm hunting, I am way back right at the lowest setting. The reason being is I'm trying to get that group as small as possible and dial that right in, and I find it obviously way easier with the higher magnification. Yep. Do you like to shoot and practice at the high end, low end? How do you go about that?
So assuming we've gone to rifles now, just checking. Yep. I completely agree with you with that. Whenever I'm sighting rifles in, and I do all my own reloading for all the rifles I have, so always checking groups and what loads work best and whatnot. And I use the absolute highest magnification that is in that scope on the rifle at the time to sight in and check for that sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, you get your best results through that. And then when I go hunting, I'll wind my scopes back to, say, 10 or 6, or depending on what scope it is on that rifle and what I'm doing with it. But yeah, 100% agree. Whenever sighting rifles in, I run them at full magnification and get that load dialed in as tight as I possibly can, so that I know it leaves little room for error. And if something goes wrong, well, it was me. It wasn't the gun. I like to leave no fault at the gun. I like to know that it's just human error as to why I didn't get that target.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Oh, look, the podcast will come out Monday, so the one before this one. Yep. I was talking to Dan because I shot at a buck at like 30 meters and missed completely, and I was just like, what the hell has gone on? Yeah. And then I was questioning my ability, and then looking at, was it the scope? Was it what's happened here? Because that does not make any sense to me at all. It was just racking my brain. Thank God he filmed it, because that way I saw it hit the wire of the fence, and that just split the bullet or the projectile in its case, whatever. But man, I was just beating myself up, pardon me, because I was sitting there going, what has happened here? This doesn't make any sense. At 30 meters, I should be hitting stuff. And I really was questioning sort of whether I should give up hunting, because I was just like, Jesus, if I can't shoot something at 30, we've got an issue here. Yeah. I thank God we caught it on camera, because I would have been just like racking my brain and struggling. Yeah, going, how did that happen? And I've, you do find that there's been times where I've shot and gone, what the hell happened there? I don't understand what's gone on. A lot of times you can pick when you pull.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's I think it comes with experience, but you can go, yeah, that wasn't that great. I know I stuffed up. That kinesthetic sense of body position where it ended up, you can see and go, I stuffed up.
You watch the crosshairs move as you pull the trigger and it's like, that's not going where it was meant to.
I think that's the one with the digital scopes that record. Shout out to me mate Dave. We were watching his, and when we're out hunting, we're in the rut, and you could see it just going up and down and moving around. And
yep.
I sort of almost want to get one for that reason, to see how steady I am. And a lot of times I feel really good. Other times I feel horrid.
Yeah.
And I'd like to try and have that video playback just to be able to see what was going on and going, okay, I wasn't in a good position, or look at the movement, because you're always going to have that rise and fall with your breathing.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people where they just want it still, and it's like, mate, you can't have that, unless you're holding your breath, and then that's not a good thing too, because get used to, whatever your pattern is. I like to shoot when I've expired all my air.
Yeah.
That's me. I know others that like to take a breath and hold it before they shoot. Each their own. Whatever works for you and whatever your pattern is, by all means, use it. I just, even though I've got that, there's sometimes I feel dead comfortable, and there's other times I feel like I am bouncing around all over the place.
Yeah.
So I reckon being able to have the video footage to be able to look back at it and go, oh, okay, well, I was bouncing around. What was it? What's the difference in those circumstances, and see what it is, because you don't want to be doing that when you're shooting an animal, especially.
No. So my way of, I suppose, controlling that on, say we're using a deer as a target at 100 meters just for basic specs, and I'm shooting off the shoulder. And everybody knows you put that gun up, as you said, you're not dead still. There's that little bit of sway and movement. So with clay target shooting, I suppose that's made me not natural, but it's taught me motion shooting. So if I've got that target animal at 100 meters and I know that I'm not going to be steady on it, I'll aim low and I'll slowly bring myself up to where I want to shoot. And as I'm just about to pass through where I want that bullet to go, I squeeze the trigger. And I know that bullet's going dead straight and it's going to hit within a 4-inch area. And quite often with the rifles I use, we shouldn't say close enough is good enough, but when you're using larger caliber rifles, if you got that 4-inch area around the lungs and the heart, you are going to do the right damage, rather than that possible swaying around a little bit, and you might pull it high right or high left, and just not quite hit the right spot. And that's just a little tip that I've found for myself anyway. It just keeps it nice and smooth. As you're coming through the spot you want to shoot, you just squeeze the trigger and let the rifle go. Not let the rifle go, obviously, but let the shot go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got what you meant.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see the benefits of that, especially for freestanding shots. If you haven't got the ability to get onto a branch or a tripod or a bipod or some sort of rest, I can see that having a benefit rather than just sort of standing there straight, especially with your background in that moving discipline for it. So, no, I get where I think that's where some people, when they go out for trap or skeet or whatever, the leading, and where to judge on when to pull the trigger, how far in front, because if you're more of an expert than I am for that discipline. If you're shooting where it is at currently, by the time it gets there, it's gone. So you have to lead it. And what I mean by lead is be out in front of its path of travel and know your spread and where you've got to basically shoot how far in front of it to get that. It's a tricky thing because you don't really, not so much for clays, but for if you're hunting, you don't do that at a range. So that is a really tricky one that you are having to lead and shoot, and you sort of I haven't done enough of it. I've been pretty lucky, and I think that video where I knocked 3 fallow over, I was leading them and got all 3 like with one shot. Sorry, 2 were moving. But that's a tricky one if you haven't got the opportunity to shoot at 100%. Moving targets. To be able to understand the lead and whatnot, because you don't need to lead heaps. So
no.
It's not at all, because that bullet's going so damn quick. But you do need to lead, because it could be the difference between a nice chest shot and a gut shot, or a hit, and that's not what we want to do. All right, I think that's a real good segue talking about that, because you do love the pig hunting, and they're probably animals that you are leading on, especially if you get into a mob of them and they are scattering like they do. You aren't shooting at a still target, or not maybe the first one, but after that you're not. How do you like to hunt them? What do you do? Geez, we keep hearing at the moment that they're out of control and they're cutting funding for them and things like that. So it'd be good to get some farmers out there getting more people on to chase pigs, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I go, you probably heard them in the background then. I've got my dogs, which I do a lot of hunting with. I'm in town for the night and they're not a big fan of being in town. But anyway, they'll get over it. But yeah, I do a lot of hunting with those. So I've got finding dogs that lug, and I've also got a little Kelpie, decides to bail sometimes, but he also lugs on pigs. And then, I've got quite a swag of different rifles that I really enjoy my hunting of all aspects. So I've got quite a few different rifles and all have their own uses and purposes. Do a lot of shooting as well. And at the end of the day, it's pest control. And I know a lot of pig hunters that just run dogs, won't shoot pigs, just religiously will not do it. But it's the most effective way. If you're running both at the same time, you can let your dogs go. And on the mob of pigs, they've grabbed what they've got. And then once things are safe and the mob's moved on, you can shoot your few other pigs real quickly and then get over and dispatch those pigs as quick as you can as well. So, I suppose I enjoy all aspects of the pig hunting, not just pig dogging or just shooting. I dive into it in every way.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to do it. Definitely something I will get to at some stage. And I love seeing the dogs work and how they target what pig they sort of go for. Because you see so many people's dogs going for the bigger pig, etc., which is, and maybe I'm a newbie in this side of it, but I would think just on the animal kingdom, most animals prey on the smallest, slowest, weakest.
100%.
And then I see so many pig hunters with their dogs, and their dogs don't go for those animals. Is there a tip or a trick? Is that trained into them? Like, it's always something that sort of, I haven't asked anyone, but it's been sort of on my mind going, it doesn't seem like it's natural as that predator sort of instinct compared to what they actually do. That must be a trained thing, yeah?
It really comes down to the dog. Every now and then you'll get a dog that just does everything right, everything you could ask of it without as such training it. It's just built into some dogs. And but then then there is other dogs that you got to train them, and it's a matter of, I suppose, when they do catch those smaller pigs, is like, okay, good dog, you did your job, but not acknowledge them too much, not hype them up, like really, like, good job, good dog, like, okay, right, you caught your pig, back on the ute, let's go. But then when they do get those bigger pigs, it's like really like, give them a good pat and good dog, and they just really acknowledge that they've done a bloody good job and you're really happy with them. And I suppose that's how I've done it, but I'd never claim that my dogs catch the biggest pigs all the time. I'm not that kind of person. I've had some pretty handy dogs in my life. I've been very lucky for that aspect. But you still catch the small pigs sometimes, which is nothing wrong with that. They've got to go as well. But you touched on like watching the dogs work and that sort of stuff. And I've got the Garmin trackers and that, so you can always be sure of where they are and what's going on. And it's amazing to sit back sometimes and you just go out at night along some thick scrub and they might jump out and go out into the crop, but the pigs have already left, and then they'll wheel back across the road and up into the scrub, and you watch them just go round and round, and eventually, bang, they've got the target. But I wouldn't say it's an art, but it's very interesting. When you get a dog that's really good at it, it is unreal to watch them work. Like, it's not as simple as just driving along the edge of the crop and throwing your dogs at the mob of pigs that are coming off. Like, when you get a handy dog, it's very effective.
Wouldn't it be awesome just to have their senses and understand what they have and how the world around us looks to them?
Yep.
Like, you think, I was chatting to a mate, Gab, the other week, and he said he walked past a big boar. And it was just probably not even 10 meters. And he said it just didn't move.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only sort of looked behind him and was like, holy crap, that's where we were. It must have just stayed bedded down. And just, and you sort of, even the Samba, when I was chasing Samba the other weekend and there was a massive stag 10 meters away, probably under 10 meters, we had no idea he was there. And you sort of go, imagine having that smell and being able to detect that there was something – not just like in the vicinity, but being able to nail in on it just with that scent.
Really
it's so cool. I just, you sit there and go, geez, it just seems so alien, but it would be so cool to actually experience just that, just to see how it operates and have that understanding.
Yeah.
Because, we never will, obviously, but I do think it's an art. Like, I know you said art form. I think it's an art form because not every dog can do it. And the breeds of dogs out there now, there's a million of them.
Yeah.
But being able to have those dogs that will know how to do it and be able to do it well too. Because I've seen, social media is just one of those things. There's a lot out there. I've seen some great dogs that are just voice command like perfectly. Yeah. And then I've seen other ones that, just sort of do their own thing and, it's just all over the place. And so I do think it's an art form and it's a thing. And it's pretty cool to be able to hunt with the dog too. Like that's, I do definitely see that bond and that win together and experiencing that. So plus I think if I ever got into it, it would be definitely your way of being able to dispatch the most possible, being able to use the rifle and get in there. I'm guessing you get in there and stick them as well.
Yep.
Do both at the same time to maximize how many you're taking out of the environment. That's a win. That's, it's a big win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but like even just this week alone, I think I'm up to, they're far from large numbers compared to some of the fellas in northern New South Wales at the moment. Like the numbers they're getting are just out of this world. It's insane how many pigs are there. I'm a bit further north in sort of southwest Queensland, and our pig numbers, they're still around, but they're not huge. But I went out a couple nights ago and was meant to be howling dogs. Anyway, I did that for a little bit, but they were quiet for the night and weren't playing the game. So I thought, I'll run past this dead cow on the way home and see what's there. And sure enough, there was a boar chewing on it. So I took him out, and then I was heading back, and I thought, I could go the easy way. I'll just poke around the long way past this bit of oats crop and flick the thermal out the window, just the monocular. I just run it as a handheld. I haven't got the whole flash set up like a few other people. But seeing these pigs out amongst the cattle, and I thought, they're in a bit of a rough spot and a range find them. They're at 450, and I thought, I was running a 260 Remington, so I was more than capable of taking the shot. But I thought, I'll get out there amongst them and see how close I can get in and how many we can get. And there was 8 out there, and I walked in. I ended up getting 20 metres off them. It was the closest I got in the end there, and I took 7 of those out of the 8 in the mob. And that was just a matter of putting a little head torch with a red light on, walking out with the thermal in one hand, the rifle in the other, and making sure the wind was right, obviously, because that's the biggest thing with pigs. Their sense of smell is just phenomenal. They're just world beaters with that. But made sure the wind was right, got into 20 metres with thermal, put it back in my pocket, and I haven't got a thermal scope yet. That's in the process. That'll help with my wild dog work majorly. But I'm just running a big O-light on top at the moment. Just flick the light on and whack the first few, and then, check the thermals, find out where the others were, and then punch them on the way out. And only one of them managed to get away. I just couldn't get a safe shot at it amongst the cattle. But yeah, so, and then it must have been 2 nights ago, I did the same thing and took my little brother out. He's pretty keen on the hunting scene. He just doesn't get to do much of it, but walked him out in a mob of pigs and put a couple 20 metres in front of us, and then we got stuck into that mob the exact same way. So, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I enjoy the hunting pigs of all aspects, every way you could go about it. I haven't done it with a bow yet, but I wouldn't mind getting into that at some stage as well.
Yeah, look, the only downside for me with the pigs is eating them. Like,
Yep.
I do like to shoot things that I can eat, but you could argue that with foxes, dogs, etc. Right? Like, so understand that. I know people do it, but as you just said, chewing on a bloody cow.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you're in. It sounds like you're in crop country as well.
Yeah, it's a mix of both. Yep.
Yeah, I sort of sit there and go, oh, it's just, yeah, I don't know. And look, I think it was Jacob said to us that, oh, you know, pig farms, they probably out and going around and do the same thing. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Okay, valid point, but I don't know, it just sits a little uneasy with me. I don't know, it's just not not my thing. And hey, if people do it, go nuts. Like, I'm not saying don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I think it's probably not what I would like to do.
Once you've caught a couple of pigs out of it's just come out of the guts of a dead beast, you'll question it for a bit. It's not a good smell. You really don't want to go in and grab that pig. You're just going to the dogs. Why did you have to get this one?
they're a tough critter. Like,
yeah.
Like, I think deer are tough. You know, you see some interesting things with deer just being able to survive with some severe wounds.
Yeah.
And then I think pigs are just another jump up again. They are just crazy.
I shot a pig end of last year. It must have been with a good mate of mine. He was a short backstory, but he was working on a place and he was seeing a few pigs through the day, and he just dropped the question of, you know, have you got anyone chasing pigs? And he said, yeah, got a couple people come out, catch between 4 and 10 each time. I was like, all righto. And so he managed to get us on there to go hunting, and I think we got 50 pigs in the first 6 hours we were there, and just shooting too. We didn't take dogs. We wanted to get to know the place before we had dogs running around. But we seen this one pig out the flat, and it was running a bit different. And I thought, walked out there and I shot it, and we got over to it, and it was missing basically what would be 6 inches from the very back of its skull down its back. You could see 2 inches of its skull, like, out of the flesh, maggots crawling around. I'll send the photos through to you once we're done. But it was, you could see the skull out of the flesh, just this massive area just missing, and this pig was still healthy. Like, other than having maggots crawling around and open flesh, it was still moseying about, doing its thing, eating its feed, and was a healthy pig. And I was just like I'd assume it's copped a stray bullet that just didn't quite hit its mark behind the ear, and the wounds just rotted and opened itself up. That's all I can put it down to. But yeah, like, it's a true statement as to how strong these animals are and what they can endure.
Oh, look. As much as they are an absolute feral pest and they're out of control numbers-wise, you've got to respect their ability to survive in tough country. Like, you go anywhere that's drought-stricken and they just find a way. But not just find a way, they find a way to just thrive. And like any animal, if you're not in good condition, you can't breed. These pigs breed everywhere and anywhere. So it's a testament to just their ability to adapt and resilience in any landscape. So whilst I get we got to hunt them and take them down, there's also that level of respect of these things are, it's impressive. You know, you think about how many species of animals get introduced somewhere or, you know, get wiped out because, you know, a food source got removed or something like that. Pigs just, on the other hand, like, you just sit there and go, I think that's one thing out of the conversation that gets left out a lot when we talk about invasive species. Like, you know, you hear people throwing out about the deer and the pigs and the goats, but just their ability to have adapted to our landscape and thrived is extremely impressive. And I know people say they shouldn't be on the landscape. I don't necessarily completely agree, because they have been able to adapt and thrive on it. And, I mean, that's what people did. Like, at the end of the day, when we all came out, we all came and spread into different countries and things like that. And some thrived, some didn't. And I think that's sort of a testament to those animals. And I don't know, it's a very conflicting topic. I know people want to wipe them out completely, but I just don't think, I think there should be a bit more respect for those animals than to want to wipe them out. By all means, we got to control their numbers. We got to, keep them down 100%. But I don't know, just to poison them and get rid of them, I don't know. I think it's a lack of respect that we should have for animals that have excelled in survival. And, if our animals or the animals that go extinct had the same ability, they wouldn't be extinct. They would have found a way, right? Yeah. And I think that's a testament to those critters that can do it.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny comparison. Like, I suppose you look at the deer numbers, the pig numbers, and then you look at the kangaroo population, but nobody wants to shoot kangaroos. Nobody wants to have that discussion as to, like, essentially it's 3 kangaroos will eat the same as 1 cow in a day. Like, that's the comparison rate. And you run the numbers on them, and there's they try and say they're getting rare or endangered. No,
what a load of crap!
Yeah.
What a load of crap. Look, I saw that. I think it was Georgie Purcell pushing something this week on kangaroos and the bans overseas or whatever. And I just think it's so silly. Like, it just shows she's probably never left the city, and, of how many animals are out there.
Yeah.
And the need to control them. And again, it's just this, there's a lot of people that haven't had that experience that make the decisions. And whether it be kangaroos, I have zero idea what has happened with the population to not understand that we need to control them. And as you just said, I think you're on the money there. I've heard that stat that I think it's 3 roos to 1 cow in feed. And I don't think people understand the sheer numbers of mobs of kangaroos in different places.
Yeah.
And that is, it can be bad. And then you go, I've talked about it on the podcast previously, like, animals just starving because there's no food. And it's not nice to see them or whatnot. No, I've said it before. I don't think any farmer would want every kangaroo eradicated. No. But having a manageable number is definitely what needs to happen. And I think this is the argument too about the Brumbies. That's popped back up because they just done an aerial cull in Kosciuszko, and you always see that. And there's all people, up in arms because they're horses, and I get that too. But I sort of, again, I think there's no real natural predator. You can't just not do anything with them. Now, do I want them aerial culled? No, most definitely not.
Not at all.
Would I like to see more mustering or even hunting of them allowed? Most definitely. And I know there'll be people jumping up and down saying you can't hunt them. Well, you can. You can hunt any animal, and they learn very quickly of what's a threat and what's not. And, it's perfectly good meat. And I think that I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic. I know people I love dogs, but will I shoot a wild dog? Yes.
Yeah.
I love my dogs. I'm a big dog lover, avid dog lover. Still shoot a wild dog. I understand the need to keep populations in control.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just think with the heart, and they're not using the head a lot. And I understand that, but I think we make our lives a lot harder sometimes thinking about that. And you're right, the kangaroos get left out so much of the time in the conversation.
Oh, they're on the coat of arms. You can't touch them. Like, don't get me wrong, I know they're the Australian national emblem and all that sort of stuff, but people, I live and work on cattle stations or livestock properties and all that sort of stuff. So I'm day to day, I'm out experiencing just what sort of numbers we're dealing with. And the place I'm at the moment, like, I'll go mustering and it's nothing for me to see 600 roos in one small paddock. Like, you get going and they just appear out of the creek, and it's and like, that's, as I said, that's just one small paddock on what is essentially thousands of acres, and that's just one paddock on that place. Like, the numbers are just they're not as many as they used to be in that area, but there's still no shortage of them, that's for sure. So, yeah.
Oh, and then you think, I think, again, people, they turn a blind eye to stuff they don't know.
Yeah.
So they don't think about the costs to the farmer that, if feed's not great, then you got to pay for the feed, and then the feed obviously will last a lot longer if there's not the same numbers of kangaroos on there. And, at the end of the day, it is a business for farmers.
Yep.
And, mate, they do it tough as.
Oh,
The people that make these decisions are not the people that their own money and livelihood is on the line dealing with these things day in, day out. There's almost something I was talking to someone today going, I'd love for people to only be able to vote or have a say on things that they were well versed in.
Yep.
That you as a politician could not vote if you've never, on kangaroos, if you've never worked on a station or had something to do in the farming communities. Yep. That you don't have the right to make a judgment or a call on something, or that you need to have some sort of investment. So you need to own a farm so that you see that side of it, so you can go, oh, well, my decision here is going to hurt badly. And the same as the firearms, obviously, what we're talking about with the firearms and what the restrictions they want to do and things like that. That's nuts. That's hurting people, hurting businesses. And they don't care because it doesn't impact them, right? Like it would be, I think it would be a totally different story if they had shares in gun stores, and then this would not be getting passed. So I think, it's a very interesting one. I don't know how you do it, but I'd love for us to really become more of a democracy where the people got to vote more. And, like they did with The Voice, and, Australia decided, and so be it. I'd love to see that with everything, just work out a way where instead of the politicians making the decisions for, the 28 million Australians, the 28 million Australians, well, obviously less with people under the age of 18, but we all could just work out how we could just vote. That would be cool. And go, hey, that's my position, that's my position. And, if it was something rural people's votes way more, maybe a 1.5 compared to someone in the city.
Yep.
So everyone's still being heard, but there's, a little bit of equity and equality to it because, why should people in the city be making decisions for people in rural spaces? It shouldn't happen.
No.
And vice versa. And vice versa too.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
it'd be a way to fix a lot of these things. It's the same as the firearms. The people that are so anti-firearm have never needed one or used one. And that's the comment, isn't it? They, why do you need 4 firearms?
Yeah.
That just shows how you have no idea. And it's, how do we have those voices being the ones that we have to listen to? It's sort of it's an interesting dynamic. So
well, I got quite a few family distributed, like in all different areas, and even as far as the Melbourne city. And of course they see my social media and just go, what on earth are you doing? Why do you need all these firearms and all this sort of stuff? And it's not until I can actually sit down with them and be like, right, I'm not a madman. Shooting is my hobby. That is why I have all these firearms. Well, that's not why, but like I use them as a tool for work as well. But like, this is my hobby. It's just like old Joe Blow that lives down the road and has 30 fishing rods because he loves to do all sorts of different fishing. Well, I've got a few different firearms because it's just my passion. It's what I enjoy. And it's not until you can sit down and really have a good conversation with these people that they go, oh, they're just a set of golf clubs. Like, that's just what that person does in their spare time and enjoys. So, and there's just so many people that don't understand that, which, and a lot of people do get backed up and just dive into the argument, I suppose, and bite back, when sometimes you just got to sit back and let the people that don't know have their say, and just explain yourself without getting upset and aggravated about the situation. It's just a matter of, just gently explaining why, all the reasons why you've got what you got, and it's just because that's what you love.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the biggest problem is social media, though, is that people, if you have the ability to have some sort of long-form discussion, is most people can sort of come to some middle grounds, whereas social media just seems to be this big gotcha. Bazinga, I was able to get you one over on you on my argument.
Yep.
And because it is a format that is so short, it is extremely difficult to articulate yourself properly in any form or any topic.
Yep.
So you really struggle to be able to have that communication. And then also what they're seeing, the algorithm that's posting, the way it's presented. I've seen some really classy sort of photos in regards to taking animals and great explanations, and then I've seen the complete opposite.
Oh, there's some shockers. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, again, it's a really tricky one because I don't want to take away from those people because they might just be grabbing their first photo because they're so excited that they've spent 6 years chasing an animal, they've got it, and they're not thinking about how it's presented. And is it doing us a service? No, but I sort of understand why it's happening too, and I don't want to be on their backs over it. Like, I'd love for it not to happen, but then I just think any time you put up something that you've shot, there's going to be people that dislike it and they're not going to understand the process or how difficult it was or the hours that you've spent, trying to perfect your craft to get that animal. Or it's the way of the world. But unfortunately, I think social media has made it worse for that ability to argue and not be able to find that common ground.
Yeah.
It's hard. And how often do you get the chance to? Like, as you said, you got to sit down because they're family members.
Yeah.
Someone just scrolling through your Instagram are probably going to sit there and if they're anti-hunting, they're going to see what's going on there and they're going to hate you without even knowing you as a person. And being able to have that conversation, they've already made their mind up and they're probably going to, I've seen some cracking comments come out, like just calling you every name under the sun and they don't even know you as a human or having any conversation. It's an interesting one how social media has got people acting very differently than they would in person.
Yeah.
And I think hunters are probably seeing a lot more of that. Like it's probably one of the things out there that is in a space where people go from 0 to 100 very quickly without any context.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I've been sprayed personally in my comment section from other hunters over the wild dog work that I do, and it's other hunters that just simply don't understand the impacts that wild dogs have, and most of the time, I just leave the comment and I don't reply to it. I don't give them anything because that's what people are chasing is that bite. They want that response. They want to know that they've offended you or, made you look and think about your actions. And I suppose it's not a fact if I don't look and think of my actions is I'm not out there to kill all the wild dogs. We were talking about before, there's balance. You've got to have balance in your ecosystem. But I am definitely out doing a job of thinning numbers and removing the problem animals to try and keep that balance. So yeah, but there is some properties, you got sheep and goats where dogs just can't coexist in that environment. A lot of keyboard warriors will happily tell you that they can and it's fine, but it's not until you get out and you've seen 20 sheep out of that mob have had their kidneys ripped out overnight and that's all they've taken. They haven't actually tried to kill the animal. They've just gone for the kidneys and left them go. And that's when you go, okay, no, this just isn't going to happen. It's not going to work. They have to go in this environment anyway.
Look, and I think that's a good way to sort of talk about it is that if without someone having that financial investment, because if they had to pay for those 40 sheep, I think their attitude would change very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one. I get where they're coming from and, people are attached to different animals, whether it be the brumbies, dogs, get it. But as you said, I think that's the perfect summation is that you need to keep that balance. The balance is there. That's the line. Thin it, let it increase, whatever it might be, because, they have a job in the ecosystem. Too many or even just on a property where they, as you said, the easy targets, you do have to be able to take context. And I think that's a really difficult one for people to sometimes wrap their heads around because everybody has such different context of what they know, and their lived experience is going to be different to somebody else, and they're only going off their own personal, what they've seen and done. So,
yeah.
Brodie, it has been a pleasure, mate. Appreciate it. It was a good chat. I liked talking about the firearm side of it and hearing about the shooting and all the different things. So I think we covered a lot of topics tonight, and I know listeners will like this one because I thoroughly have, mate. So really appreciate you jumping on the podcast and giving up your time tonight. And mate, look after yourself. Keep doing what you're doing. Love it. And I'll have your Instagram up on the show notes so people can go out and check it out as well. All right, listeners, bye for now. You've been listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt. Thanks for tuning in and can't wait to catch you next time. But in the meantime, if you want more, you can find it at linktr.ee/Australian Hunting and Beyonds. That will give you our YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, you name it. We'll catch you next time.